What's up, every pony? This is Silver Eagle from Ponyville Live, and we are here at Equestria, LA in Anaheim, California. I have a special guest with me today, Miss Cathy Weseluck. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Now, Cathy, you play the voice of both Spike and Mayor Mare in My Little Pony.
Yes.
But you also have a long history of performance in a number of different roles, both on-camera acting and also voice acting, but photography and all kinds of other stuff. Can you tell us about your background a little bit?
Well, I actually got into voiceover a long time ago, but it wasn't intentional whatsoever. So as far as acting is concerned, I did some on-camera acting, and then I fell into voice acting. So as far as the acting side of it, I went into it after high school, and I was in university, and played around with it a little bit, but I had absolutely no intention of being a voice actor. I didn't know what that was. So this came about quite quickly, and I was real excited about it. I used to work at the CBC in Toronto, and then I got to Vancouver, and the host of the show asked me if I'd like to do commercials. That's how it started. And through that, I actually started to do some commercials and some animation voice acting, narration, and I got to that. And started to do it on the side. It became more and more frequent, and the next thing you know, I'm doing this. But as far as hobbies, I do love photography and and those things as well. It's a pastime for me.
So you just have your hand in a whole bunch of different projects that are all sort of the fine arts.
The fine arts, as it turns out, yes. But I do have a passion for sociology, psychology, and that particular ilk. It was an area I was considering going into before this all exploded.
Interesting.
So
now,
I do enjoy that.
Is that what you went to university for? Or?
Well, I went to university and I got a Bachelor of Music and then a minor in sociology. So I was going to do composition for film and TV documentaries. That was my goal at the time.
Yeah, and your credits actually list you as having composed as well, along with everything else.
Yes, I
have.
So
my goodness.
It's fun. I wish I could do actually more composition and that sort of thing, because I do miss it. Yeah.
So would you say that voice acting is now sort of something that's become the dominant part of your career, or is it just one of many sort of equal parts of your career at this point?
I think I would say voiceover is pretty much the dominant part of my career, and it has been for quite some time, which has been wonderful. I knock on wood with that, and I'm grateful because it sure just doesn't even feel like a job. I mean, it's just something we enjoy so much doing, and to see the results of it with the Brony community and everyone else who's been affected is a perk. It's a wonderful thing to have happen from a project like that. So
sure, absolutely. And if you're coming at this from a psychological, sociological standpoint, you must have a lot of observations then about the Brony community with regard to that. So what have you discovered in your time here with the Bronies? What does that suggest to you as far as sociological trends?
Well, I just find that the Brony community is just that. It's a community. And that's what sociology talks about. It talks about our interaction with each other and the family and how that expands to the bigger community. And it's a fascinating thing for me to see that a community actually broke out from this one show. So there's a lot of questions that sociologists actually do ask, and psychologists, as to how that is, what caused this. And I think it's a need to be united again, and to come together and to promote kindness and unification instead of disassociation and finding ourselves so separate from one another. So it's brought us together,
right.
And I think people are looking for that connect, and the show promotes so much goodness and heartfelt honesty, and it actually does take a look at real conflict.
Sure.
But there's always a hopeful ending, a solution to it, and I think that's what we all need again, to have some hope for that.
Well, and it has a lot of relatable life circumstances, right, that are relatable for people of all ages, lessons we could all stand to learn again,
That's right.
In our adulthood.
That's right.
To keep at heart at all times. So have you found that My Little Pony was did you find it to be an especially pleasant show to work for, partly because of that, like because of the message that it sends?
Absolutely. I always gravitate to shows that I'm a bit of a suck, I have to admit it, right? I'm a softie. So I gravitate to things that have happy endings, not in a la-la kind of way, but just something that actually is relatable. And the show has so many good morals and values, but it doesn't sugarcoat it. They go through real issues, and we all do too. So it's a wonderful show. I'm so glad to be part of it. It's a feel-good kind of thing to be part of it when you're actually acting and working with our actor family.
So do you find, because this is unique to your specific role out of the main six, so to speak, they're all females playing female characters. Now you are a female playing a male character.
That's right.
Albeit a boy.
That's right.
Yes, but how is that different? How do you adapt to that in the role? Do you sort of have to pick up a whole different set of gender behavior in that sense, or?
Well, with any characters that I play that are boy characters, even in some cases teen boy characters, I really have to be the persona. I have to be the character, not be Kathy trying to do things the character would do or say things the character would say.
Sure.
I have to actually embody that character. So a lot of observation of the young boys or the whatever and how they are, because
Little girls tend to talk like this, and so they're like that, and they're just like, oh my gosh, and they sort of like twirl their hair, and they sort of sit like this and talk like this.
but boys are like Spike's kind of like, yeah, whatever. He probably would like hockey if he knew what it was, right? So, but they just kind of have this lazy thing, and so their speech pattern is completely different too than a little girl's. But I have to embody it, because in voiceover, unlike on camera acting, we have to imagine the action. We have to
Right.
listen and react to each other as opposed to see what's going on and physically do it. So that's
Absolutely.
kind of where I go. But yeah, to be a little boy in the world of girls is kind of a fun challenge for the actor.
Yeah. Do you find that your role as Spike, do you think that is sort of a bit of a offset to the largely feminine cast?
Absolutely.
That you have there? That's sort of the what's comic relief in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
Also, but how do you think that Spike's presence there sort of helps out with balancing the sort of tea party type thing? If they're about to do something girly, he goes, bleh.
Exactly. I think that is a part of the genius of Lauren Faust too, putting Spike into that mix, because everything is going on between the girls and etc. Even though it's adventurous and the writing is fantastic, so there is adventure, which is appealing to the boys too. There is a boy in there, and he, and because he's a young boy, it does bring the comic relief, because he's the child also, not just
Right.
the boy, but he's the child, and he's innocent, and he just says things, and sometimes the stuff he says is really profound and actually saves the day. So I think it's terrific. He does offset it by being a boy, but also being innocent and a child.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that gives him some particular set of struggles that he has to deal with, right? And his acceptance by Twilight Sparkle,
Yeah.
his worst nightmare in episode 3, where it shows his worst nightmare is just him being abandoned.
That's right.
And the idea of that's just so heartbreaking.
It
his
is.
loyalty to her is fierce.
It is.
And he just wants to be accepted and to be a part of that family.
And he really is all about nobility, being noble, committing to the role, committing to his job, his duty. I mean, he was in crisis. And for me as an actor, it was fun for me to be able to go to that extent and have him now be in certain situations that would affect him quite that way, so that we see what happens when it comes down to it. And I think a lot of children can kind of relate to those things too.
Sure.
Between brothers and sisters, or even just feeling isolated sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know the brother-sister conflict was one that was specifically dealt with. It wasn't a brother or sister, but it was a pet.
That's right.
Owlicious.
Owlicious, yeah. One of my favorite parts of that, and I've said this a few times too, is when he's looking for a quince. How does he know what a quince is? He's just a little boy, and he's going around looking for a quince, and he gets a quill, and he gets a quilt, and all this stuff. I mean, the writers are terrific, but that's the little kind of intelligence that gets injected to the show, and that's, Spike, is one of those people who has those little extra intelligent things, and you're looking like, what? He's just a little boy. So it's real fun to play.
Yeah, he actually does have a lot of those little quips.
He does, yeah.
Here and there, like where they're describing the different things the birdhouse can be used for, or the bird's nest can be used for, and he throws into the very end, an outhouse.
Exactly.
It's just like one of those, like, that's perfect for that moment,
And when everyone's kind of in there going, oh, then there's Spike, right? He just kind of offsuits
just
it.
jolts
It's
you
like,
out of that,
what? Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's great.
So in this most recent season here, you actually had an opportunity to really develop the character.
Yes. Yeah.
Spike at Your Service.
Yes.
A whole episode dedicated to that specific sense of, Spike sort of feels a little shunned or snubbed, I guess, just by Twilight being so buried in her books that he
Right.
goes off and tries to impress the Apple family,
That's right.
much to their chagrin.
Absolutely. And I mean, there you go with a conflict that, we see also the role of the parent or the guardian who is busy and has things to do, and yet doesn't want to offend the little child, doesn't want to offend the boy. But and he tried so hard, and like every child, I can think of families where there's little children in the family, and you're needing to get the supper on, or you're needing to get the dinner going, or making the Thanksgiving dinner, and all they want to do is help you. And they start to help, and they start spilling the flour all over the place, and you're like, how do I balance that? So it's really an accurate description of really the behavior of children they're trying to help, but
Sometimes they're trying a little too hard,
Yeah.
and they're just kind of in the way more so. Yeah. And Sweetie Belle had that same thing.
Yes.
Actually, that was that's come up twice there. But that was a very interesting. The ending of with the Timberwolves and everything else. That was a very interesting.
That was interesting too.
Yeah, a whole new area for us too. As, in the fans it was a completely different type of animation even.
It was.
I
I thought that interesting too, the vectors they used and the design, etc. for the Timberwolves. And yet they made it so it wasn't terribly scary. It was kind of scary, but then at the same time they almost were caricatures of a scary wolf. So,
and they even went so far as to make a caricature of the scary wolf.
Right.
The little fake wooden marionette Timberwolf there just to try to throw
And I just loved it because Spike's like, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? What is this, right? And then he smells the real wolf, and then it's like, oh my gosh, he sensed it, and then boom, the whole thing turns around. But it was fun to play.
So that connection that he has though with Twilight is it's kind of noticeable in the It's About Time, that episode back from season 2. He has this, and he actually points this out. He's smug about it, almost, that he was the only one to recognize the legitimacy of her emotion in that environment.
Yes,
she was freaking out and she was legitimately scared, but he knew her well enough to go, I think that's serious, and to actually report it up to, the princess. And things like
and I think that's what's so awesome about Spike, is that he really is so pure, that his nobility is so strong, his connection to her, his dedication. And we all see that when we feel that way to whomever, it can be a grandparent or a sibling or your partner or somebody or a pet, that it's fierce, it's real, it's really committed. And Twilight's his number one. It's almost sister-like to me, big sister, but he's so dedicated. And when we're close friends with someone, we sometimes can see things about that person that others wouldn't be able to see because we know them so well. So again, the levels that the writers are bringing in is amazing in the relationship aspect of it.
Absolutely. Which is part of why we're all here.
Right.
It gives us that universal appeal that we can all relate to. So for sure. So what other projects have you been working on? I know that with My Little Pony, you're still, I assume, working on season 4. You might be done with season 4 at this
We're
point.
happy to have had season 3.
Right. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We're all I can say about it is that we're just thrilled about the success that we've had so far, and
absolutely.
And we're looking forward to anything else that might come our way with it, and
absolutely.
And all the offshoots from the show, like even again back to the community and the art and all the music and everything that's been exploding from it is continuing. So I look forward to more pony-esque everything. We do have projects we can't talk about, of course, and there are other series that I'm in, animation series. But I've also been doing a lot of commercials lately, other voiceover work that we all do. That's all part of our mix. You see, animation is one thing, but we also do commercials, narration. I'm doing promos for the BBC for 2 of their family channels. So we are kept busy outside of the animation as well, and a lot of us do on-camera acting as well. So
true.
Those projects are always looming, but it's always a different day for us. We never know what's going to come the next day. So it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all these other projects that you've been working on, I suppose a question for our Brony audience. One of your projects has included Littlest Pet Shop.
Yes.
You've done a little work with Littlest Pet Shop. What would be a project that you're working on outside of My Little Pony that you would encourage our audience to check out, that you think has just excited you a lot, that you've had a lot of fun working on, that's out there right now that we could go?
Well, one thing I wanted to say, it brings to mind a past project that I did that people seem to be still really connected to, and I think the Brony community might be interested in it. So I'd like to sort of focus back to that, which is a show that I did many years ago called Cyber 6. And it's an anime, but it was recorded as a prelay, so it doesn't really look anime. It doesn't look anime, it doesn't even look Western, but it's about a woman who's part cyber and part human, and the struggles that she has being both. There's so much heartfelt, real connectivity about that show that I'd like people to take a look at that. Cyber 6. There's a lot of, and it's also done in quite a European kind of, or a European-esque kind of way.
Sure.
Because I'm a person that's so connected to heart and affectation, that's the kind of show that really, again, brings me back to that. And a curious story quickly about that was that I had a family contact me about that series, and their very severely autistic daughter, who could not communicate at all, watched the series and then was literally able to recite the dialogue. word for word, verbatim.
Really?
Yes,
So
it was
that
a
impactful
phenomenon,
of
a phenomenon. So I don't know really what became of that, but it was amazing. And also, this character Cybersex, she had a connection with a panther, which was her brother. It's a long story, and he turned into a panther. The mad scientist got his consciousness and turned it into a panther, and she related him to little brother. Well, this child who had autism was able to make that association and began to call her big sister on her own accord.
Really?
Yes.
Really? And this was just sort of a metaphorical association that wasn't
That's
actually
right.
said that
That's
way.
yeah.
Wow.
It was never said.
And so the connection
She
was-
made the connection somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that kind of thing is also interesting to me, and another show that a past project that I've done quite some time ago,
Yeah.
but that in particular.
Well,
yeah.
that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, we will definitely encourage people to check that out. Cyber6.
Cyber6, yeah.
We will hunt that down. I don't know where we can find it now.
Well, online you'll find it online.
Is it online?
I think
Okay.
you'll find it online. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Ms. Weslock, thank you very much for joining us today.
So, my pleasure. Nice to meet
This
you
is-
all.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for joining us here at Equestria LA.
My pleasure.
Hopefully you've had a delightful weekend here with us.
We've had an amazing time, and thank you to all the Equestria people and all the Brony support and fans.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with Ponyville Live, I'm Silver Eagle, and we are here at Equestria LA in Anaheim, California.